The CEO of the $4 trillion artificial intelligence chip manufacturer Nvidia is heading to China this week. That's important because the United States has a ban on sales of the company's high-level chips to Chinese firms. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are asking CEO Jensen Huang not to meet with those companies while he is there. But Huang says China doesn't actually need Nvidia's chips. Stephen Witt joins me now. He's the author of the book, The Thinking Machine, Jensen Huang, Nvidia, and the world's most coveted microchip. Stephen, it's great to have you with us. Thanks so much. Why is it the most coveted microchip, and how did Nvidia become a $4 trillion global colossus?
Anytime you make a request from ChatGPT or AI or any similar system, that request is taken to a gigantic building full of computing equipment called a data center. It's processed and sent back to you. That computing equipment is basically all made by Nvidia. So every request you make of AI is basically processed on an Nvidia microchip. And each of those microchips sells for about $30,000 with a huge profit margin. So meeting the consumer demand for things like ChatGPT, now the fifth most popular website in the world, and Meta and Twitter and all the industrial and business use for this stuff has made Nvidia the world's most valuable company on the back of these microchips.
So Jensen Huang was on with Fareed Zakaria on CNN over the weekend, talked about China, the Chinese military, fears in the U.S. that the Chinese military will start using, if it isn't already, Nvidia chips. Let's listen.
We don't have to worry about that because the Chinese military, no different than the American military, will not seek each other's technology out to be built on top of it. They simply can't rely on it. It could be, of course, limited at any time. Not to mention, there's plenty of computing capacity in China already.
For those of us who are not as well versed as you are, Stephen, translate that for me. What was Jensen talking about there?
Basically, what he's saying is that the Chinese won't use an American manufactured microchip for a sensitive national security issue for the same reason that the US military would not use a Chinese manufactured microchip for a national security issue. They can't be trusted, right? They can be used to spy on one another's equipment. But Jensen's being a little bit disingenuous here. In fact, a lot of his equipment has made it into China via smuggling. They sold a bunch of chips to Malaysia, and in Singapore, a reselling smuggling ring was busted earlier this year. So this stuff, despite the sort of ban, is in fact making its way into China, and Chinese companies are training on NVIDIA equipment. Probably not their military, though, specifically.
Stephen, is the future of AI going to be determined by microchips or energy supplies?
It's both, but the big limiting factor right now is how much power we can supply to these microchips. You know, Jensen can make billions of these things, and he can sell billions of these things, but they're very, very power hungry. So if you look at companies like Meta and XAI, they're starting to co-locate their data centers with power plants. Even with nuclear power plants or gas-fired power plants, OpenAI has one in Texas that's sucking up all the wind power. So right now, the speed with which we can build electricity for AI is in fact the limiting factor in its growth.
And how would you evaluate what the Trump administration is trying to do on that energy creation front with permitting relaxation, trying to attract investment and the like?
Yeah, Trump has really relaxed all of these regulations. He's also brought a lot of investment into AI. So from Jensen's perspective, he's probably fairly happy with Trump. Now, what Jensen really wants Trump to do is lift the ban on selling microchips to China, which Trump has not done. And so Jensen continues to sort of follow Trump around the world and try and get his ear. Jensen historically didn't have to think much about politics. Politics was not really his bag. But now, as the single most valuable company in the world, operating in a complex geopolitical environment, he's starting to have to learn the game.
Stephen Witt, it's been a pleasure, sir. Thank you, and congratulations on the book.
Thank you.